Okay, so we are continuing part 1 of the character strengths test.
Yes.
I am the pine.
And I am the water. And you are, again, listening to A Cup of Tea.
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
While sharing a cup of tea with you.
And if this test has shown us anything, you know, like a lot of the things that are coming up, we have very similar results to a creepy point.
Yes, very much so. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back, listen to it, then come back here. We will be waiting for you.
For sure. So now, this time, I mean, this is a continuation. I still have my chai tea. She still has her peach something tea. And we're just powering through.
This is a marathon.
Yeah. The top 10 character strengths that we have. Do you want to say number 10?
Sure. Okay. I don't know how to interpret that. I guess it'll depend on the description.
Mm.
But my number 10 is judgment. Is it yours too?
Yes.
See? Creepy. You have... Okay, yeah, again.
Jesus.
Listen to the first part.
And see how many we got the same.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right, so judgment is thinking things through and examining them from all sides, not jumping to conclusions, being able to change one's mind in light of evidence, weighing all evidence fairly.
I can see why we have this.
100%. Yes.
Like, no arguments. You know, because, okay, when it first shows up as judgment, as a character trait, you know, I can feel a little bit like, what? No, I'm not judgy, you know?
That's kind of what I thought. Too.
Yeah. And in my case, you know, I do think that I am very consciously making an effort to not be judgy of people or situations. It's one of those things that I learned at some point in my life. And it was like to not assume things and just come in with an open mind and be like, oh, okay. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And I think because it was one of those things that I learned at some point, I've been practicing it so much that it's just natural now. My state when coming into something new or meeting someone new, even if, you know, because it's hard to say, or maybe impossible to say, that you don't judge people. But I think what it is that even if a thought pops up or something, it's about putting it aside and be like, no, you know what? Like, I don't know. Like, of course, my mind and my thoughts are going to pop up and be like, oh, what about this? What about that? What if, you know, that kind of thing. But it's about, you know what? Having that inner monologue with yourself.
Yes.
Where it's like, well, I don't actually know. I'm just creating this based on previous experiences and, you know, other stuff. So it's about putting that aside and be like, you know what? Let's just see.
And I just thought of 2 things from what you said. That one is that, well, I got it, I would say, more from my dad, I think. Because he was always like, there's, I don't know if ontologically, again, fact check me, but he would always be like, okay, there's 2 sorts of statements that you can make. One is a fact, and the other one is a judgment thing. And he would be like, many times what you will hear are judgments, you know, that people make, and they assume that they're correct because they sound correct. So it's a bit of a fallacy.
Yeah.
And it's not the fact. So you should like strive to reach the fact, right? Like, okay, the sky is blue. Of course, yeah, the sky is blue, right?
Or is it?
But beauty or even like
subjective.
You know, it's hot outside. Like, to you, it might be, but to me, it's like, okay. You know? So that sort of thing, that he would say a lot. He loved that.
Yeah.
And then I would say judging situations and being like, taking a step back and sort of realizing what my bias is. Like, I've tried to monitor that inner bias. Like,
right. Is that like conversation of like separating things?
Like, because I might think maybe I have like a gut reaction to something, but then it's about like, okay, why did I think that? And like questioning. I've done a lot of that, and that also has to do, with the inner voice thing of like questioning whether what I think is right and why I think this or why I think that and how that informs my decisions and all that might stem from it. So it's I think I've thought about it recently because I was talking to my brother about it. Like, you're choosing something based on how you see this particular situation without taking into consideration what it might mean for somebody else or what it could mean if you just switch your lens and instead of seeing this as a good thing, you see it as a bad thing, or the other way around. So yes, I think that's, accurate.
Yeah. And I think, like this one doesn't surprise me that we got it same place, kind of. I think a lot of it can come from our different but similar backgrounds. Like you were saying about your family, but also then I think it's such an IB thing where they taught us in high school
critical thinking.
to be critical.
Yes.
And then the whole like subjectivity thing, it's like so implanted in my brain because of psychology, like to anything. It was like such an inside joke in my classroom when it was like, they ask you something, it's like, well, it depends.
Yeah.
It's like such a thing.
Of course.
So, like, I'm so at peace with this judgment thing. Yes. And, taking into consideration that it's not being judgy of people in a bad way.
No,
but
exactly.
Being critical about, especially that thing that you were saying about talking to your brother and the looking at it from different points of views and allowing yourself to not just like have this idea, which is a little bit of, a cup of tea and how we do this of like, well, this is my experience, this is your experience. And we're like looking at it through both lenses and see what we get from that.
Which apparently are very similar. So I don't know what you can take from that. All right, do number 9.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Creativity.
Jesus Christ. What?
Oh my goodness.
Is going on?
Okay. Maybe this is why we work so well together. Okay.
Could be.
Thinking of novel and productive ways to conceptualize and do things includes artistic achievement, but is not limited to it.
I just want to say that it sort of takes me back to the critical thinking thing that we just said, because I had this moment of like, my grandma complains to me that I always try to go and change things when they've already been working a certain way. And I'm like, of course, we can always find a better way to do it. And so I think that's a combination of the critical thinking and self-examining what you do and creativity, like look for different solutions and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
This might have been mentioned in a pocket at some point. But yeah, I know which one. The one where the entrepreneuring and, making your vision happen, that kind of thing, where we were discussing that creativity doesn't have to be, like, it might be perceived as this, like, oh, only artists are creative. And I think, to me, not like too long ago, not like when I was 10 years old or whatever, but recently in the latest years of my life, I have made myself aware that I can be creative even if I'm not, a painter or writing a novel or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because of that realization, I've become to think of myself and having that self-image that I am a very creative person, and what you're saying about like the critical thinking and the creativity and wanting to do things a different way, I think that's somewhere where I can really see it. This is why in your phone I'm called Vanellope.
Yes.
I lose my voice.
Is this my voice? I don't know what the English thing says.
Oh, from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My voice.
And the thing of, I'm like, it's living me, but I'm holding on to it. The thing of, right, critical thinking, creativity, wanting to do things differently. And like, it's such a thing where I can see it, where I'm like, there are so many things that need to change. And like, in which ways can we change it? And the whole topic of conversation that can be another cup of tea of like tradition and doing things the way we've done them. And I'm like, there is a moment where I can be like, appreciation for tradition and think the way things have been.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, like, for example, the Day of the Dead and that kind of thing, where I would want to be closer to the traditions and learn from them. But I think what culture and traditions and that kind of stuff of like things that are already set, like in stone, need is to really look at them and why they are the way they are. Or even with rules. I have like such a thing that we probably talked about previously. And, you know, where it's not, I feel like there's a lack of flexibility and we need to go back. It's not that rules are there and just because they're there, we need to follow them, but we need to critically think of why they were there in the first place so that you can decide if you can bend them, you can break them, you need to change them, that kind of stuff.
You know what I just remembered?
What?
About the rule thing? This is a long trip down memory lane, but do you remember that summer we went to Puerto Vallarta and we posted, like, we were at the pool. It was two of us and our friend the Rocky, and
I'm gonna try to find that picture so we can post it.
Yes,
you can see it.
And so we were at the pool, and the rules were written there in English and in Spanish.
Yeah,
and they were so poorly written in English that we sat down one day
with Post-its,
and we edited it.
Yeah.
And then hilarious. Somebody came to us and they were like, what are you doing? Take them down? That's not okay. And we were like, we're trying to help you people.
This is when we can come across as snobby.
Yes. But you know, that was the thing. Like, I kind of get why that person's job might have been stop vandalizing the rules.
Right.
But we were not vandalizing the rules. We were trying to help them, fix them, because they were not right.
Right.
So that's kind of, I feel like that was sort of, I don't know that qualifies as a catch-22 situation. But yeah, like the question, it was, I think it might, we might, reach a little bit of a heavy topic here, but I was thinking about the Texas abortion ban thing that's been going around, which is sort of like that, you know, like, why are we ruling on women's bodies, and more so, why are we making people police them? Kinda. Like, why? I mean, I get that belief is rooted in a religious thing that has been taken advantage of, I think. I don't know. You can tell me what your opinions are. But it's like that sort of thing, you know, question it. Why are you doing this? Because of your own selfish way of thinking that this is how things should be, and you're not considering everybody else. So yeah. I guess we got back to something else. But anyway.
Yeah, this can be another cup of tea.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
We are creative. Kindness.
Mine too!
We are telling you this.
I wonder if everyone from here up, we're just gonna have the same.
I think we have so few left, and they are the same.
Yeah.
That we have left.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's gonna be like one or two that are gonna be in a different order.
Okay.
But from what we saw when we first got the answers, I think the similarity rate is going to be really high,
Jesus.
like 90%.
Jesus. Okay, so kindness. You can read.
Is doing favors and good deeds for others, helping them, taking care of them.
I will say that I could put this one further down for myself.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't enjoy doing things for people. I don't know. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, no, like, I'm actually kind and I do things for people.
Yes.
But I think because I do it right now, because all the things that I'm going through and I'm going to therapy and all of that,
Yeah.
I think I'm just trying to be more aware of not going too much out of my way to please others if it's gonna take a toll on myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I would want to, for my health, put this a little more down. Because, yeah, like if you ask me, I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. You know? But maybe right now I want to focus a little bit more on me.
I think I don't know that. I think if I had taken this test before, it might have come
Like before
up. Like a couple years ago, it might have been a higher number. Yeah. And I have taken that approach of like, okay, I'm going to step back from always being there for everybody and just be there for myself. But I still do appreciate being able to help somebody and being like, oh, yeah, you know, I can help you solve your problem. I can, I don't know what I can do, but, you know, I'm here if you need anything or that kind of thing. So, yeah, I get both things.
Yeah. I mean, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I could relate it to things we've previously said about being open, being fair, being nice, you know.
Being a nice person.
Exactly. So, and on that level, like, I'm cool with it.
Snobby but nice people. I think also the creepiness, taking out the creepiness thing about having the same answers, I do think that, yes, it is a lot like why we are friends. Because that we have things about each other that we like in ourselves and that we like in other people. And because we share so much and we value them, then that's why it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, so number 7.
Let's see. Hope.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. What is this? Are we variants? Oh, you haven't seen Loki. Never mind.
No.
But for you who has seen Loki, I'm like, are we variants of each other? What's this?
I watched the first 20 minutes, I think.
No, you need to like watch the thing. It's good.
Sure.
But again, you know, I guess I didn't say this when we were talking about judgment and being critical. I am one of the least critical people that I know when it comes to movies and series. It's maybe to a fault. And specifically because I have so many friends in like communications and, you know, movies and all of that stuff, then it's such a thing because they are so critical of them. And I understand why you guys are, you know, it's part of your environment. It's how you see stuff. You know, but for me, it's like, it's such a big creative endeavor to bring something to like be a movie or be a series or whatever that I'm just like, I'm so happy for you because you did it. Whatever it is, like, I don't care. You know, that kind of thing.
You have very low standards.
Very low. Like, I would need to think really hard to say that something was bad.
I think I am trying to think of a movie that is really bad and that I can sort of think of the last few Mexican movies that have come out that we went to the movies to watch. And you would be like, I thought it was cool and I liked it. And I was like, oh, Jesus, what did we just watch?
I mean, okay,
Kinda.
The thing is, I can categorize movies, but I think I will not put a movie in a category called bad.
Yeah, you have very low standards.
Like, you know, even in the MCU, I can say, you know, there's so many. Doctor Strange is one of my favorite movies. Amazing. I love it so much. Yeah. Or WandaVision. I love WandaVision. And for example, I haven't given them a second try. Maybe say something different. But from previous experience, you know, Thor 2 and maybe Iron Man 3. Although I have seen Iron Man 3 again and I'm like, maybe not as bad. But that's what I do, you know. So Thor 2, Iron Man 3, off the top of my head, are like in the same way that this is listing our strengths, that kind of thing. Like those two would be at the bottom. But that doesn't make them bad movies, you know? That's just the way I think of it. That's where my judgment just does not come in. I'm just happy for them.
There's a I don't know that it's social media, but it's like a site for listing the films that you've seen and review them and rate them, kind of like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb-ish. Called Letterboxd, and I like it a lot, and I always like put down when I watch something or whatever, and I would say that it's very hard for me to give a movie 4 stars. I don't think I've given, maybe 2 or 3 movies I've given them 5 stars, and most of them are like 3, 3.5. I remember a few that are like 1 or half. But yeah.
Wow.
So, anyway, getting back to...
So, what was it? Hope?
The hope thing, yes.
Okay.
Expecting the best in the future and working to achieve it. Believing that a good future is something that can be brought about.
This is so me.
Yeah.
Like, I could... Yeah.
I think I kind of... It reminds me of the everything will be fine thing. Kind of.
What thing?
I don't know if that's something that I said to you, but it reminds me a lot of... one of my best friends, one of her friends, who had depression, Fraser, and he would always be like, oh no, but I don't feel good today, or I don't know what's gonna happen, and very like anxious thoughts, kinda, and I would be telling him constantly, like, you know what, it's okay that you're not well right now, but everything will be fine, you know, kind of. And so that mindset of like everything will be fine and things will turn out for the better and that sort of thing, I think.
And it's not something that you're trying to convince yourself of. It's something you just intuitively believe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. That is very present in myself. It's a constant topic between me and Pablo because he is a little bit like... Not quite Murphy's Law, but I am definitely the optimist in their relationship. Although I think he's coming along and realizing that things are okay, you know. So, well, very much so.
Yes, I would say. Yeah, and then I think we both have a very positive outlook in general. Yeah. Like, we're always
things will happen. Yeah. Things are going to happen.
It'll work out. It'll be fine.
I agree.
It'll be amazing. All right.
6.
Mine is love of learning. Mastering new skills topics. I don't think it's the same. Is it the same?
Yeah.
the odds of it being the exact same increase.
Top 5. Let's see if we have a different thing.
All
But
right.
yeah, love of learning.
I think there's just one option where it might not be the same now, but I don't even know anymore. All right, so love of learning is mastering new skills, topics, and bodies of knowledge, whether on one's own or formally. What? Oh, whether on one's own or formally. Related to the strength of curiosity, but goes beyond it to describe the tendency to add systematically to what one knows. Yes, very, very much so.
I agree. I think this is coming up so high because of my self-image.
Yeah.
And not so much. I don't feel like I have that. Okay, so I feel like this is a character trait that was very me through high school. Like super me.
I can see that.
Yeah. But it's not something. Sure, I love learning, but maybe right now I'm not going too out of my way to learn other things that are not presenting themselves to me.
Yeah.
So I think it's that high up here because of my self-image and how I perceive myself, and not necessarily because right now I am into that like thirst or craving for knowledge like I was at one point.
I think for me, I think I'm very clear on where that comes from. Because my granddad, as I previously mentioned, I don't know if in part 1 or part 2, but I have this memory of solving crossword puzzles with him, or reading encyclopedias or stuff. Or like, for example, when I was reading a book, I remember this so much with Harry Potter. Like when I was reading Harry Potter and I didn't understand a word, instead of looking for it in the dictionary, which is probably what I should have done, I would ask him and he would tell me and explain and give me examples and shit. And so through him, I learned to like widen the horizon and the, like, it's okay to learn a lot about very different topics. Mm-hmm. And because he would always, like, he told me this thing when I was, I think, about to enter high school of, let's say you're born and you have, like, a magic wand with you. And as you make choices, that wand starts shortening and you have, like, fewer and fewer options, sort of. Like the cost of opportunity, sort of. Mm-hmm. The cost of decision making. Like if you decide to be a doctor, well, you probably won't be a veterinarian, you know, kind of like you have to make choices about what you want. It's like sort of along the same lines, I guess, of choosing your battles. But even so, you still can, you might not be a vet. You're a doctor and you might not be a vet, but you can know about animal anatomy and medicine or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. And so that I think I have it more as a not actively looking to learn new things. Like I'm not going to be, I'm going to take a pottery class next week. And then I'm going to learn how to do artistic swimming. It's not like that sort of thing. It's more like, I love reading about stuff and going down Wikipedia rabbit holes and learning stuff about the things that I already know. Like the pandemic, for example, was super cool because I learned so much about cooking. Like I liked it already before, but now I think I have so much more technical knowledge than I did in the past.
Look at you.
And yeah, it's like, okay, now I know why you should only boil pasta with water and not put any other sort of thing, or how they say that baking has to be very precise and is very like much about chemistry and stuff, and which is true, you know? So I
wouldn't know.
No. So that sort of thing. And I've always, like, I remember, like, well, just two things that I remember, like, the older thing from something that happened the other day, because I was on TikTok and I found this TikTok guy that makes videos about, like, astronomy in general. And so he has these animations. I don't know if he makes them, but he's like, oh, so this planet, I don't know what the name is on this galaxy. It's an exoplanet, and it is, what was it? Tidally locked, I think is the term. I don't know. And I was like, what does that mean? And so I started like researching it, and it turns out that the tidal thing or whatever, I don't know, somebody can tell me, is that the same thing that happens, for example, with the moon, that you always see the same face of the moon because the rotation and the movement around the main body is the same speed, you know? Not that I can be very technical about it, but now I learned something that I didn't know before. And that took me, like, I remember it, which is always, like, it's something that I've always been told throughout my life. Like, what's the word? Like a know-it-all sort of thing? Because I was in school, I think it was the first or second semester of college, and I was reading this article on thermodynamics and how even cold temperatures can be considered energy, and, like, people used to think that you can transfer heat, but you can transfer cold. But it turns out that cold is also transferred or something. And I was reading that, and some guy came over to, like, where I was sitting with my friends and asked me what I was. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's a thing. And he's like, oh, you know about physics? And I was like, I mean, I'm not a physicist or anything, but this is interesting and I'm learning about it. It's like, oh, you understand it? And I'm like, yeah.
As much as I can.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it's accurate. I think it, if not higher, it's well placed.
Yeah.
So
I think it's very, like, the thing that you said about choosing your battles. I think I'm at that point of, like, where I put the effort of, or I guess, you know, that thing that I said about maybe I'm not going out of my way for a lot of stuff, but I do love that feeling of, like, understanding something that I didn't understand before and that kind of thing. Appreciating it. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Number 5.
Well, it's very similar to the previous one. Is it? Curiosity?
Yeah. There goes where I thought we were going to have.
Well, number 5. There we go. I mean, I'm looking at number 4 and I'm like, I don't think so. All right, number 5.
I might have cheated and I might already know where your number 4 is, but I'm not going to get ahead of it.
Number 5, curiosity. Taking an interest in ongoing experience for its own sake, finding subjects and topics fascinating, exploring and discovering. I do believe I am a very curious person.
Yes.
And it has come to, like, my curiosity, maybe along the lines of what you were saying, like choosing, you know, if you become a doctor, then this is what it is. And I think, to me, even though I am a very curious person, I've found that I am now super fascinated by the whole, like, experiencing a phenomenon thing. And that is why Pockets exists, you know, and why I enjoy a cup of tea so much and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of the description, I'm like, yeah.
I don't know what else I can say. I think it just is like what I said before for number 6.
All right. Well, then number 4.
It's humor.
It is humor.
Yeah. I think you said that to me before we started recording, so I knew that it was number 4.
Jesus. How?
Well, it is liking to laugh and tease.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
Bringing smiles to other people, seeing the light side, making, not necessarily telling jokes.
Okay.
Making, not necessarily telling jokes. Yeah, I think I suck at telling jokes. I am the worst person you can ask for a joke.
I also don't say jokes.
I don't think I know a joke.
Right.
My grandpa did. He was a jokester.
Yeah, the joke thing, no. If you ask me to, like, tell a joke, Like, no, thank you.
But you know what? I do think, like, for example, I was when you said the humor thing and then I saw my results, I was thinking of how I think 2 or 3 of my friends have told me this, that I am a very funny person when I tell anecdotes and stuff. And I can see that because of, like, self-deprecating jokes and trying to find humor in things. So I can see that.
Reading the description, I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
The thing is that, okay, I don't think of myself as the funny person.
No.
Because I know other people that are the funny person. So I'm like, that's not me, you know? And there is instances in my life that I think of myself as a very serious person. So I identify more with that than as a funny person. But, you know, with the description, liking to laugh and tease, I am very much like that. I am a very happy person, and teasing is hilarious, and I'll do it. Yeah. Bringing smiles to other people. I don't know necessarily that I'm doing, you know, the joke thing. I won't do it by telling you a joke.
Yeah.
But I'll tease you into making you laugh and stuff like that.
Yes.
And seeing the light side, again, with the whole optimistic thing and everything. Yeah, down that road. So just the joke things, no. So, yeah, I've given it a second thought. I am appreciating it. I'm taking it in. And I can see that humor would be up there. Not as a haha, but just like as happiness.
Yeah. You know what? I did think about this thing that, like, stood with me that I saw, I don't know, a very long time ago. That it was about how adults don't laugh as much as children do. And they were making this, I don't know if it was a study or something. And they said, you know, children laugh approximately 30 times every hour. I don't know, I'm making it up. I'm not, don't take my word for it.
But a lot.
But, like, a lot. Like 90% of the time they spend laughing. Cute. And then adults laugh, I don't know, let's say 10% of the time.
That's so
And I was like, that is depressing.
Yeah.
So I made, like, a vow to myself to not be the non-laughing kind of adult. So I try to find humor wherever I can. And it's like a life mission to find humor in things.
That's nice. And I appreciate the conscious decision of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I'm seeing it in another light, which is a little bit of what happened with the judgment thing. Mm-hmm. But I guess I was more biased about the humor thing. And now it's more sort of a greater acknowledgement of, you know, seeing humor as lightheartedness and that kind of stuff. And I laugh a lot in my daily life.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy in my daily life. So it's more of an event when I'm not having a good day and then I allow myself to not have a good day. But the normality is happy, giggly, you know, bubbly, laughing, you know, that kind of thing. So now I appreciate it and I'm happy it's up there.
Yay. All right. They're going to be the same. Who are we kidding?
I think so.
I don't want to cheat and look at your phone, but I'm like 100% they're going to be the same. So go for it.
Honesty
is the best policy.
I mean, okay, I understand.
You know, it makes sense.
It does.
It is perfectly reasonable.
We have made honesty in our relationship be such a thing.
Yes.
So,
I'm proud of it.
Speaking the truth, but more broadly presenting oneself in a genuine way and acting in a sincere way, being without pretense, taking responsibility for one's feelings and actions. That sounds like us.
It does.
Even, I think that's us in general as people.
Yeah.
But in our relationship specifically, I think, I don't remember how the honesty policy things
I'm pretty sure it's something you brought up. And I don't know that it was during your time in the preserve, that you came back and you were like, oh, I found this. Honesty is the best policy thing. And we sort of took it in and it became a thing.
Yeah. Because the thing about the honesty policy, it wasn't just that, to express that honesty is the best policy, like for sure, whatever. But the thing that it did for me is that whenever you or I said honesty policy, just like as an introduction to speak about something, it created a space.
Yes.
For us to talk openly about something, and then the other person would be as understanding as they could, it's almost magical to me in a sense, because it was sort of, this is gonna sound very whimsical. Along the lines of this, like being magical, it's like a spell. We would say honesty policy, and this,
like,
bubble. This space would open up for us to talk about something, and it wasn't. I don't know. Like, how would you describe it? Like, to me, this space was like a safe space where we could talk about something maybe difficult, maybe that needed a little bit more, like it was a sort of sign. Like if I said it, I think, or okay, the other way around. If you said it, to me it was like a sign, a signal to be like, oh, she's about to tell me something and I need to be open about it and embracing and understanding about what she's going to tell me.
Yeah.
It kind of set a different tone than everyday conversation.
Yeah. And I just, that now that you said it, I don't think it's a thing that we say anymore. Like, I don't think we
haven't said honesty policy.
Caveat? I don't know that it's a caveat, but I don't think it's, I think maybe we're at the point where we don't have to say it.
Maybe.
Kinda.
I thought about saying it. We had like a conversation, one of those conversations recently, and I was bringing it up. Well, sorry, right now this is going to be, if you're watching the video, we lost our battery. So we're going to take a little break, but I just wanted to finish this thought, which is that when we just had this conversation, and in that moment, I didn't quite think of or remember to say honesty policy to create that space. We just kind of got into it. But a couple days before, when I was thinking of talking about this, I did think it did come to my mind to be like, well, I can invoke the honesty policy thing. But yeah, in that moment, I didn't need it. I didn't think of it. It just, that was it. Yeah. And it was fine.
Well, I would say kind of the same thing. And I have conducted myself with that honesty policy thing. Like, I try to do it in general. Mm-hmm. And I have just found moments where sometimes I can't do it, where I'm stumped and I'm like, oh, I really want to say this. I really want to be honest, but I don't know that it can be like to benefit the situation. Maybe I can save my comments for another time. And I don't mean to say I'm going to lie or something, but there are times when I'm like, I would
between
love
you and
to
me,
be,
or in
no,
others?
I see you're looking at me with the
no, I'm just
looks
wondering.
Funny, and I'm saying if you were watching the video version, which unfortunately you can for this moment, she's like sitting arms on her hand on her
hips,
waist, and like
Wonder Woman.
Are you? Yeah.
But it wasn't in that sense. It was just...
It just looked funny.
Yeah, because I would not think that you would be having that issue with me, but I can, if it's with other people, then is it like... Because you were saying, because not words, because you don't know that it would benefit the situation. So is it because you don't feel like there's a safe space to say it, or because that tambor thing from Bambi saying, I don't know his name in English. Do you know his name in English?
No, and I never watched Bambi.
Anyway, Jesus, this person. He says something in Spanish. This is from my Spanish childhood. He says something like, if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it.
Yeah, kind of along the lines of that.
So not because there isn't a safe space to say it.
No, it's more like it's something that might come across as harsh or critical to somebody that if I say it, they will not take it well. Even though I might have, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's maybe just my opinion. And they want my opinion, but I don't think that if we go back to the social intelligence thing and the reading people, maybe it's not a good idea to say it to them at that point.
I see that. Yeah. And it's a jinx. Ha. And it's a little bit of again, the inner conversation, I think. I don't know if that's your process, but there are times where I have this tiny sort of out of time inner conversation with myself when it comes to saying or not saying something. So, like, it's super quick because otherwise you're talking to someone else, right? And it's like, you can't. Anyways, I hope this is making sense. So you're having this sort of tiny conversation with yourself out of time. And, like, do I say this? Do I say that? Do I say it in another way? Because of that social intelligence and how the person might take it, if it's going to be helpful, if I needed to change my words, you know, that kind of thing. So I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's take a break so that we can get our video back for the next top 2.
Yes, which are going to be the same. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, most likely. Of course they are.
So we're back on video version.
Awesome.
And here's the last. So here we're on the last 2 traits. Character traits?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which are probably the same. Jinx again.
Okay, so number 2. Number 2 is appreciation of beauty and excellence.
What did we tell you?
Which is noticing and appreciating beauty, excellence, and or skilled performance in various domains of life. From nature to art, to mathematics, to science, to everyday experience.
That sounds very like us.
It does.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
I will say this is one of the ones that I had previously on a very high level.
Uh-huh.
I think at some point it might have been my number 1 trait. And yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, just reading you reading it just now, it was like such a thing. Like, that sounds so much like us. And it reminded me a little bit of the other day when we were talking about girls and how pretty they are.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. You know, it's that appreciation for beauty.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we are very beauty oriented in our appreciation for, like, life and what we, like, the content that we allow into our lives, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. Like, yeah, as I was reading it, I was like, oh wow, this is so true. This is so very true. And the, like, especially when what ringed so much for me was the and or skilled performance in various domains of life. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yes, I so appreciate when somebody does whatever it is that they do, and they do it excellently. Mm-hmm. Like, and just now when you said that girls are pretty thing, I was thinking about that the other day, kind of, but more like, I think we think of girls being pretty more because that's a lot more of what we see. But I was thinking about male dancers and how they also can be super pretty. Or rather, maybe not pretty as the adjective, but, well, yeah, like their movement is pretty and like their performance. I don't know. But yeah, Yes, 100%. So very true. And I think maybe it would be a little bit of repeating ourselves from what we have said for the other ones, because I think this one sort of encompasses what we have been sort of saying throughout the podcast. And
when it comes to what?
When it comes to, I don't know, like a bit of the curiosity and love of learning, of like being open to discovering new things and stuff. And I'm trying to find others, because I think there's other things where I said that, but anyway, so yeah, I think as I was answering the questions, yeah, I was thinking about how, like, it was asking, do you take a moment to appreciate beauty in your daily life? And it kind of brought me to when I started teaching myself photography, like how I had this idea of when I was a kid and my grandpa lent me his cool camera, and I loved taking pictures and all of that, and I just liked observing stuff and like finding something that if you look at it a certain way, or if you look at it under a certain light or whatever, it looks really pretty. And it can be just, the pavement and or something like that generally you wouldn't think, oh yeah, like you mean pavement is pretty, but I think there's something to marvel at anywhere, basically.
That's so cute. And, because right now when you were reading it and just realizing that we both have it as a number 2 thing, and I think it's very obvious. Maybe just I hadn't quite thought about it. Like, this is very present in my self-perception and in my day-to-day and whatever. But maybe I hadn't quite thought that it was the same for you. Although, the thing that I was saying about being obvious is when we have talked about like the Pine and Water Company and things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And like our projects in general, I think they are beauty oriented and not just in the visual way.
Yeah.
But in the content way, if that makes sense, with like the whole experience. Because to me, like you said, when answering the questions, the first thing that comes to my mind about appreciating beauty is very like, nature. And like, look at the moon and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then also I think I'm very beauty oriented when it comes to like the human experience, and creativity is beautiful and curiosity is beautiful, and all of those things that we've been discussing throughout the whole podcast. And yeah, I just like this kind of like we're on the same channel kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're vibing.
Yes.
It's cool. Okay, so that just means that number 1 is the fucking same.
Of course.
Okay.
We already knew that.
That is perspective. Being able to provide wise counsel to others, having ways of looking at the world that makes sense to oneself/others.
I don't know how I feel about the being able to provide wise counsel to others part.
I think I identify with that part.
I mean, not that I don't identify with that, but it brings me back to the inner voice thing where I think of myself, especially as a kid, I always thought like, oh, my friends come to me for advice and I will tell them. And I think I usually was very wise, I think, in general. But I also tend to be like, or at least I self-analyze a lot more now where like, am I being wise? Like, am I giving good advice to somebody? Especially because now I think about it more like don't give advice to somebody that's not asking for it sort of thing. So I try to shy away from giving
too much advice?
Yeah, or like unsolicited advice. Yeah. But But having ways of looking at the world that make sense to oneself.
/ others.
Yeah, / others. I think that's a funny way of wording it.
Right.
But I see what they mean.
Yeah, I think it's this whole conversation we've been having.
Yes.
You know, where it shines through with the judgment thing and creativity and like honesty and all these things. And because I guess, I think because of perspective, that's why we can look at all these things the way we do.
Yes.
So it's like the base.
That's why
the origin.
Experience life through each other's eyes.
Exactly. Here we are. Look at that. Look how that turned out.
Full circle here.
Indeed. I was just thinking that.
Mental jinx.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious.
No, that is not a thing,
but it's hilarious.
Yes.
I am so, like, how did we get
it's
so many
strange
that are the same?
Yeah.
How many did we get the same?
We can count them.
Okay, so
if we remember to round it up, I think we had 24, which is perseverance. 23, self-regulation.
Yes.
Prudence, and number 22.
Yes.
So that's 3. Humility, we didn't have.
No.
21, mind is zest. So it was not the same either. 19 was leadership for me. 18, bravery. 17, forgiveness. 16, fairness. 15, gratitude. 14, spirituality. 13, love.
I'm like one up ahead of you.
Yeah. 12, teamwork.
There we go. 4.
Okay. 11, social intelligence.
5.
10, judgment.
6.
And then we just have the same.
All of them?
I think. So creativity,
7.
9.
A 9.
How many are you counting?
No, 7. This is 7. Creativity, 7. I think you said 9 because it says number 9.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So 7. I'm counting 7.
8, kindness.
8.
7, hope.
9.
6, love of learning.
10.
5, curiosity.
11, 12, 13, 14. 15 out of 24.
Yeah.
More than half.
Yes. So, yeah.
And a bunch of those in the middle that we don't have the same, I'm one up of you. So it's like almost.
Almost, yeah. Well, that was an interesting exercise.
Jesus Christ.
Slightly weird. But
you need to watch Loki so that you get what I'm saying about being each other's variants.
I will watch Loki. So, well, that's a wrap for part 2 of our learning about our character traits.
I'm gonna do the pocket thing right now. Of like, what are you taking away from this, the test, talking about it, our results, and just like this small experience?
I think it was an interesting experiment. Well, an experiment maybe, but it kind of told me stuff that I already knew about. The humility thing, for example, I kind of thought might be a little bit higher. Like, maybe I want it to be a little bit higher than it is. But otherwise, I think it's quite accurate. And yeah, I enjoyed the experience. It was funny. It was fun.
It was funny.
Yeah,
for sure. I am a little impressed, but at the same time not, of the whole, all the ones that we have that are the same. Yeah. It was hilarious. But I can also get it, and it just kind of put it out there, that maybe we'll work so well together because we have all this shit that is the same.
Yes.
And I guess, that works. And yeah, on a personal level, I guess it kind of helped me reassure myself, even with the ones that I was like, I wouldn't put it there, I wouldn't put it here, or put it there. It made me sort of, that thing where you toss a coin and it doesn't matter what the coin is going to say, it's just so that you actually realize which way you want the coin to go.
Yeah.
I think I had a bit of that experience with some of them, where it didn't matter where the test put them, but it helped me see where I would put them in where I am in my life right now. And that was nice. It was like a good check-in with myself. I liked it.
Yeah. I liked it too. I liked the episode. 2 episodes. 2 parts. Yeah.
I think we would recommend the test. Do it and let us know like how you feel about it, what you got, what you learned from it.
Yes. And you can also watch Loki. We can talk about it. I can watch Loki.
You can watch Loki. Yeah, definitely.
And well, yeah, tell us what you think. Share your comments with us if you've done this test. Yeah. Maybe you have.
And like there's this thing where once you have your character strength, or you can look at all the character strengths. Let's just...
Oh, right, because we don't get all of them, right? We just get the top 24 ones?
There are only 24.
Oh.
So, for example, the appreciation of beauty and excellence, which is the one that we got really high. It tells you what it is, which virtue is this strength. Well, the thing that I said that they subdivide, and this is transcendence, that kind of stuff. But I'm trying to find the thing with the song and the activities and stuff. Maybe I need to look more into the website. I hope they still do that, or maybe now that's something that you can pay for.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you could just see it, and it was really cute. But yeah, just explore the test.
Yes. Share your comments with us. Rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts. And we will join you for another cup of tea next week.
Whoop whoop.